Yeah, recap of the game. Really proud of how this team came back in the second half. That's what I told them after the game. It was kind of a snapshot of our last 60 days here at Utah State. It's been some bumps in the road, but at the end of the day, the kids rolled their sleeves up and toughness prevailed, and they went back to work, right? And that's what you saw the second half. So we know we have a lot of things to clean up. Way too many penalties, turnovers, little things like that are mostly mental fixes, right? We got to make sure that we stay on top of things, control our emotions, that way we don't put ourselves in bad positions. I'm really pleased with how the offense moved the ball. 650 yards or so, ninth most in school history. Now we just need to eliminate some little things so it equates to more points. And then defensively, they did a great job. Kids were flying out there. We played a bunch of people. I thought the depth was phenomenal. We gave up a couple plays the first half, which ultimately led to 14 points, which needs to be lower. And then special teams, hats off to Nimrod. He ended up getting special teams player of the week for 50-yard field goal. I think he made 3 field goals and kicked every kickoff out of the end zone. So it was a fun game. We learned a lot. I learned a lot for myself that we need to improve on. Now it's on to SC. So let's go with some questions.
Jason Walker with Cash Valley Daily. I want to get this out of the gate first. Can you give us any updates on Spencer Petras, Robert Briggs, especially if Petras is able to play this weekend?
Yeah, I'm really waiting on Spencer day to day right now. Working through it with Robert. He's already had surgery, so he will be out for the remainder of the season. So we'll appreciate any prayers that anyone wants to send out to him. He worked extremely hard this offseason, and had a great first game. Just how it works sometimes. So he'll come back stronger than ever, and hopefully we get Spencer here sooner rather than later.
Dryling, Jason Turner from the Herald Journal. If you don't mind me asking, how bad was it for Robert? It looked pretty bad.
Yeah, just an awkward fall, right? So he got his foot rolled up at the end when he was fully extended. So they had to put a rod already in his leg to start getting things to grow back together correctly. So it's going to be a little bit, but he's such a resilient individual, and he was in good spirits at the hospital when I visited him. So he'll be around and he'll have just as big his voice, like he always does. It just be from a leadership and coaches role this year.
Coach Jason,
Jason, go ahead.
I just asked about the second half offense where you guys scored the 26 points. Kind of what was the difference for you guys in that second half where you moved a little bit on the first half, fairly well, but had the turnovers. But I guess what was that biggest thing in the second half where you guys got more points
Yeah,
on the board?
Yeah, no, good question, Jason. The difference was we got out of our own way, right? And you guys, I'm sure, saw it. The first half offense is rolling, and then Jalen slips on a route and the ball's intercepted, or we're moving and we have a holding penalty or a false start. And then we just put ourselves in too many second and third extendeds and second longs by self-inflicting wounds, right? Stuff that we can handle. Now, the players came out the second half and they were way more dialed in on their details. And that's what this offense is going to look like. They should be able to score every single time they touch the ball with all the weapons they have and how much speed they can break any play. But we have to be on point, and that's what we learned. That's an awesome learning experience of what two different types of systems can look like. One where you're not locked in, and the other one, oh my gosh, look out, these guys are rolling. That it should be fun football. So, and then hats off to Bryson. This player comes in, prepares every single day like he's a starter, and comes out there and doesn't miss a beat. He's so confident. He's so mobile with his legs. It's going to be tough for teams to prepare for him, I think.
Patrick Mayhorn from the Ag Ship. Now that you've had the chance to sit down and watch through the tape, what did you make of the defense and their performance in this first week?
Yeah, I think pretty proud. Second half to shut out an opponent in college football is just hard to do. So they did a phenomenal job there. First half, we really gave up 3 plays. I think they had like 115 yards at halftime, but we gave up a screen on third and XL that went about 45 yards, and then that led to a 3rd and 2 run with a minute left on a missed tackle to get another late touchdown. And the other one was a kind of a play action tight end dump with just bad eyes. So if we can fix our eyes and communication, it's exactly what we wanted. We want teams to have to drive down the field to earn their points, but you can't have bad plays, and that's what we had. It only takes a couple in college football to give up points. We just got to be locked in more consistently, and if we do that, I think this defense has a chance to be pretty special.
Dryling, Jason from the Herald Journal again. a lot of things that you're going to have to do well to have a chance against USC. How high up the totem pole is not allowing Zach Branch, a punter, a kickoff return opportunity?
I know that's number one, right? Probably the fastest player in the country. We need Elliot Nimrod on kickoffs to be booting like he was, making sure that ball is out of the end zone where they can't return it. And then Steven and the rest of the punt team needs to be on point. He's such a phenomenal player, and they do a good job. Not even on special teams, obviously. Then you gotta prepare for him when the defense takes the field and how to eliminate his touches and really get going because he can take it whenever he wants. But we have to be on point. We got to make make sure that we get them down on all special teams and give our defense a chance to get out there and try to take them away as well. So we'll have our hands full, but that's what happens when you play USC. They're gonna have a bunch of playmakers.
Freeman with the Utah Statesman. You touched on it briefly, but the penalty is kind of self-defeating. The turnovers. Maybe just comment on that, and then what can you do this week to clean that up and play better offensive football?
Yeah, on the turnovers, the first one, Jalen Royal slips, Spencer throws a pick. Then we had one right before half where we're just aggressive trying to get points, and they threw it up. So that's not really an issue. Then the problem is we had one other one where the corner jumps in front of the receiver and stole it. We just had him so back to back to back. The defense had to go out there a little bit, but all plays that could be avoided or plays that, if you throw an interception on a jump ball with 20 seconds left in the first half, like that's okay. We want to be that aggressive. We just got to make sure if it's not that case, right, we need to be on point, crisp coming out of routes. I thought the quarterbacks for the most part did a pretty good job of putting the ball down where they needed to be. It's kind of like defense though. If you have one or two bad plays like that could really amplify a scoreboard. So we got to make sure that we're always locked in.
Jason Walker again with Cash Valley Daily. I want to ask about the defensive line in front seven, where you have a lot of guys rotating in and out, a lot of like fours on the depth chart. What did you feel like you learned about those units where you're trying to get a lot of different guys in and rotating into that rotation?
Yeah, well, that's the deal with this offense, right? And we're going to go fast as we possibly can versus SC as well. You have to be able to play a bunch of guys, and more importantly, you have to be able to trust them, right? And that's how proud I am. Like if you're going on the field, that means you've earned the trust of your coaching staff. And for us to play, 6 D linemen, and we end up playing 8 outside linebackers, like that. That's a lot of people, that both those rooms, especially that outside linebacker room, might be one of the deepest in the country that we feel good putting guys out there. So hats off for the players to earning the trust of the coaches. And then, now it's just go in and when your time's called, play some ball. The best part about it is we should never play tired football up front. We have enough talent, we feel like, to continue to stay fresh and keep rotating. And that's what you need. If you're going to get pass rush or if you're going to stop the run, it's going to have to be with a lot of bodies and rotating in. So those guys did a great job.
Eric Francis with 106.9 The Fan. Just what's that up front? Just that if you could comment on your offensive line helping to get 300 yards plus in the running game.
Yeah, 300 rushing yards. Let's go. That's phenomenal. They did a good job. They kind of get highlighted poorly on a couple of the holdings, that hurt some drives. But other than that, right, we're talking about finishing blocks and working to the next level. I don't care if you get 300 yards versus a 7th grade team. That's hard to run the ball that much. So hats off to those guys. I think all those offensive linemen, you got 4 to 5 starters coming back from last year. So that group feels so well connected. And we played a bunch of bodies there too. And then you got your tailbacks. You got Razul. Rob obviously had a big day before he got injured, but then, you get Herschel out there, true freshman, and rushing for over 10 yards a carry out of the gate. So we feel like we have a good combination of O-line with tailbacks, and then you got Bryson who can run the ball as well, and that showed on Saturday.
Patrick Mayhorn with the Ag Ship again. I want to ask about Herschel specifically and how important he is now with Rob out and maybe who you're looking to even beyond him to add a little more depth to that room.
Yeah, and that's the thing with college football. You never know when your time is going to come, so you have to prepare like you're the starter. So we were expecting to get Herschel carries regardless, and then obviously once Rob went down, his role in carries went up drastically as well. Herschel had like 3,800 yards last year as a senior in high school, which is just absolutely insane. He's got so much vision, balance, and his burst is phenomenal. So he's a guy that the coaches trust that can take it the distance too. So his role is obviously expanded now with the injuries, and then after that, we still have Nick Floyd, and you have some other tailbacks still coming, trying to get back in the mix. So it's just building depth, building depth. The injuries happen to everyone, so we're not feeling sorry for ourselves. Players just need to work and make sure we prepare like your time could be coming.
Eric Franson again. Just you kind of alluded to this after the game, but if you could expound on it a little bit more today, just your just first game as a head coach on the sidelines, just another group of assistants in different positions, and how the communication and roles went, and managing the game for a lot of you in your first time in these positions and these roles.
Yeah, it went okay. I have a lot of areas I need to improve on. Making sure I don't lose too much sight on still being the defensive coordinator. Then a couple, we had a 2-point play. We should have went for 2 out of the gate. We had to take a timeout to get them out there just to confirm that's what we wanted to do. So just little things, making sure that I am confident before I make a decision on how we move, and then the team to follow. So learned a lot. It's a lot less fun being a head coach than a defensive coordinator because you're just all over the place, right? But then everyone else's role picks up too, because they have to pick up my slack. So whether it's offensive staff or defensive staff, they did a phenomenal job, especially in that second half, answering, keeping everyone rallied and under control, right? And then playing the type of football that we wanted to play.
As a follow-up, I know there were issues in the first half with in helmet communication, but once that got addressed, how'd you feel that went and helped your team the second half?
Yeah, we had no mics for the offensive players the first half, which is hard because you prepared every single snap we've had since fall camp like we've had. So that kind of hurt the first half as well. Try to get in a nice rhythm, but now it shouldn't be a problem. We got all that fixed, and then you look at the second half. Wow, how's it change when you see how much different it changes. That's why it's so hard being a defensive coordinator. When the offensive coordinator can talk to the quarterback up till 15 seconds like we could in the second half, and now you're always in the play you want to be and you can get there very fast. That's a great example to show the fans of what it looks like when you can talk to the quarterback and what it looks like when you can't. So obviously having that fix hopefully will be huge. And then also learning next time this does happen, what can we do to make sure we don't stall?
Coach Riley and Jason Turner from the Herald Journal again. I just wanted to ask you, with Elliott being honored as Special Teams Player of the Week, how blessed do you feel to have a bunch of 4th and 5th year senior leading your entire special teams groups, those 3 main groups, and long snapper, punter, and kicker? Yeah. Elliott gets that. Jacob Garcia is probably the best, if not one of the best long snappers in the country. And then you got Steven punting the ball. So that's nice, Growing up watching football, like my scariest things watching my dad's game is like punt and punt return. Are they going to catch the ball? Is the punter going to kick it? Is the snap going to go over his head? I've just seen it so many times, and now having the confidence that maybe the best 3 combination of any team in the country have out there. There's so much trust. Elliott hit the 50-yarder. If we don't throw the pick before half, we're going to get out there and he's going to try a 60-plus yarder that everyone see him make multiple times. So it's a weapon. You got to use them correctly and know when to use them. But if you do, it could be special.
Jason Walker again. Just I assume you watched USC play last night. Just want to get your thoughts on them and what you saw out of that game.
Yeah, obviously they're a special team, right? To beat LSU is a pretty daunting task. So hats off to how much better their defense is playing too. Their new coordinator's done a phenomenal job there. It used to be USC is going to either outscore you, right, or it's it's very rarely defensive battles from Southern Cal, and that's what it was yesterday. And so now it's a whole other animal to prepare for. So offense is going to need to be on point. They have plenty of talent. Their front 7 is humongous, and they do such a great job. And then offensively, you still have one of the best offensive play callers in Lincoln Riley calling plays. And you guys saw how good the quarterback was. He can make every throw in the book, and he just processes things so fast. And Then you throw in their receivers. They got a couple 6'6" guys. They got the fastest receiver in the country. They got 2 tailbacks, a Mississippi State kid that transferred in who's a phenomenal player. So they're what you'd expect a playoff caliber team looks like. But just like I told you guys last week, it has nothing to do with our opponent, whether we're playing Robert Morris or we're playing SC or the Dallas Cowboys. It all comes back to how we're getting better, how we're doing our fundamental techniques, right? And that's a big thing we need to make sure we do.
Finally, Jason Turner again. I just want to ask you specifically about their quarterback. His 2 career starts have been pretty lights out. What impresses you the most about him, and how important is it for you guys to maybe have him feel a little bit uncomfortable on Saturday?
Yeah, that is a great question, Jason. His arm strength, I mean, obviously he has an NFL arm, right? But how fast he gets the ball out. He very rarely ever gets hit. He never makes bad reads. They're such a vertical passing team, and how he can lay these touches on these balls is just so challenging. So, not to mention their offensive scheme is one of the hardest to prepare for. So, they're what you expect one of the best offenses the country looks like. So, our kids are going to be fired up. We know we have a huge task ahead of us, but it's going to be fun. We have a bunch of California players on our team, especially LA players. So they're going to be fired up to get to the Coliseum and see if we can't slow them down a little bit.
Trentwood with Deseret News. You are not a stranger to playing in hard environments, coaching in hard environments. You went to Auburn last year and pulled off a major upset with New Mexico State. I'm curious, how much do you lean on that experience, and what do you tell these kids ahead of what's going to be a really hostile environment in LA?
No doubt. It goes back to what I asked him 2 weeks ago. I said, raise your hand if anybody's ever lost a game that they weren't supposed to lose to in football, right? Talking about us versus Robert Morris, and every hand was up. So people need to realize everyone gets to practice, right? You look at scores across the country, whether it's the Oregon-Idaho close game or Texas Tech, Abilene Christian, like talent is awesome, but talent does not even come close to win you games. There's so much more in that. It's understanding my role. It's understanding my fundamentals, how that all leads up to it. And then it's having confidence to execute it. Like no one's going to be intimidated going to play at the Coliseum. We're going to be fired up. We know it's going to be a very challenging opponent. But once again, it doesn't matter about the logo on the helmet. It matters about, how we handle ourselves. We were able to go into Auburn last year and win by 3+ touchdowns. So it can be done. It's done every single week, but you have to have the mindset of, yes, you can do this. And then even more so, right? Trust your job and do your job.
Hey, Jordan, this is Eric Francis with 106.9 The Fan. And I was just going to ask you to just kind of assess how that first game was under the lights in front of Maverick, the crowd there at Maverick Stadium at Utah State.
For sure. I think the Mav was awesome this weekend. The fans really brought it. Even from the pregame warm-up, they were out there 2 hours before getting us ready to go for the game. And then just as far as the game would go, I would say that we started off a little bit slow, not the way we want to start the game, but I feel like once we kind of settled down and got our feet wet with everything, that we were executing on all cylinders.
Jordan, Jason Turner from the Herald Journal. How excited and hungry are you to go up against a USC offense that has been pretty explosive ever since Lincoln Riley's been the head coach and the offensive coordinator there?
I would say I'm super excited to go up against them this weekend. When I decided to transfer here, this was one of the games that I was looking forward to the most. I would say everybody wants to play in front of those big lights. The opportunity to play in the Coliseum, I think, would be a great chance for everybody on this team to showcase what we're really about here at Utah State.
This is Jason Walker again. Sorry, I think my connection broke out earlier, so it's screwed up on my end. But I wanted to ask about some of those plays early on in the game. Nate Darling said there are a few plays where eyes weren't right. You gave a few plays, but otherwise you did well, and then obviously shut them out in the second half. Just want to ask what you guys learned about those early plays, and maybe was it you guys kind of working out the cobwebs of the offseason to eventually get things rolling in that second half on defense?
Yeah, I would say usually it's a week one type of thing that, people emotions are high, the adrenaline's rushing, and everybody's super excited to make a play. I feel like we were just a little bit rusty on some of our keys in the first half, but then coming in at halftime, just being able to regroup and understand if we play our brand of football that we'll be fine. And I feel like that's what helped us succeed in the second half.
Jordan Mark Greenwood with the Utah Statesman, kind of building upon that. There were a couple of those big plays, but it seemed like really in the first half, just in general, offense had to throw a lot more for Robert Morris, and then defensively, second half, under 2 yards per carry. I know you weren't on the front line, but what was kind of the adjustment made from the defensive end to lock it down in the second half?
I think it just came down to trusting our keys and trusting like our fits throughout the defense. You know, like you said, under 2 yards per carry. I think our front seven did a great job, like reestablishing the line of scrimmage, playing behind the sticks, allowing like our backers and our back end to come fit well, fit clean, and ultimately stop the run, which is a big part of playing great defense, I would say.
Eric Franson again. What are some of your early assessments of USC? Did you get to watch that game yesterday between them and LSU?
Yeah, I watched the game a little bit last night and just a little bit this morning, just going through the film. And I would say that they're a pretty high-power offensive team. You know, they like the big plays. If you watched last night, they made a couple big catches in big-time situations, which really helped them get the flow of things going on offense. But I feel like it's more so about us and just executing our job and doing our job to help us succeed next weekend.
It's Jason Walker with Cash Philly Daily. You try and convey the emotions of having, as Doug said, a career night on your first career start there with the 131 receiving yards and 2 big touchdowns.
Yeah, I would say I went through almost every emotion when I crossed that goal line. You know, I was obviously happy, but there was a lot of heavy emotions that were able to come out once I crossed that goal line, just because I've been through a lot and it took a lot to get here. And it took a long time and a lot of patience, and it just felt good. And, you know, after the game, I kind of sat there for a long time just taking it all in and appreciating everything that happened last Saturday.
It's Jason Turner from the Herald Journal. Yeah, you really have been kind of just a model of patience. You've been here for several years, just biding your time, waiting for your opportunity. So just how gratifying was it for you to really make the most of it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm extremely grateful. You know, first and foremost, I always want to thank God for, you know, getting me here and getting me through all these years. Like you said, I've been, you know, kind of in the back seat for a while now, and it just feels, I can't really explain how it feels to be out there and get my first start, my first career touchdown in 6 years. So it's amazing.
It's Trent Wood with the Deseret News. I'm curious what the adjustment was for you going from Spencer at QB to Bryson. They're obviously not the same player. They play a little bit different. I'm curious what that adjustment was like for you.
So I don't know if you guys know this, but me and Bryson actually played at Utah together. We were lockered right next to each other. We have an undying chemistry. So there was no adjustment as far as, you know, catching the ball from Bryson and being out there on the field again with Bryson. But Spencer, yeah, he does his thing. He got me the ball, and we have developed the chemistry through. As soon as from the day he got here, man, he was just ready to go to work, and just did everything he could to make sure that we were on the same page at all times. And you know, he's a very good communicator. He's an amazing quarterback, and I hope people aren't discouraged by what happened on Saturday, because 2 interceptions, not his fault. That's on the receivers. And for those who watch film and understand the game, they'll be able to see that. But for those that don't, I just want them to know that Spencer Petras is a very good quarterback, and I have 1,000% confidence in him and 1,000% confidence in Bryson Barnes. And with either quarterback at the starting position, we will be just fine and we will do amazing things.
Jason Walker again. Kind of on the note, can you speak to the potential of the offense? Because you get the 36 points, but it felt like you left a couple more scores on the board there. Speak to the potential and also just what you guys need to do to make sure you reach that potential in the coming games.
For sure. I think the thing we struggled with the most was just execution. I mean, I learned this yesterday. We had 650 yards of offense, but it felt like we just had a bad game. Like I don't think most OCs or players will complain about a 650-yard day, but we know how much we left out there, and we know, slips and falls and missed assignments and missed blocks by me, just little things that people don't really get to see that affect the game in a tremendous way. And that's kind of what we're harping on. That's what we were harping on last week, and that's what we'll be harping on this week, is just handling the little things, doing your job, and then the big things will come. So I think going into next week, we just need to, execute, not worrying about, everyone on the field is going to be good at football. So it just comes down to who does their job better. And I think if we want to get the win next week, or I guess this week, then we just have to go out, play our game, not panic, and execute better.
Hey, sir, Eric Franson with 106.9 The Fan. Did you get a chance to watch that USC game live? And just what do you see from them defensively?
Yeah, I was watching that game. I was with some family members and little kids, so we little distractions, but I see a very good secondary that likes to come down and make plays, and they're able to cover very well. As far as what they run, I haven't looked at it yet. We're gonna be harping on that tonight, and I think we have a very, very great challenge ahead of us, and I'm excited to handle it.
Got one more, Kyrie. This is Eric Franson again. Just as a slot receiver, you're going through in a lot of traffic, and just kind of assess how you kind of manage your spacing and your timing, try to navigate through a lot of bodies to make your route work properly for your quarterback.
Yeah, so that's the hard part about being a slot receiver, is going in and handling the overhangs and the linebackers and all that. But Coach Cefalo actually does a very good job of making it easy for me. My routes, most of the time are avoiding those linebackers, avoiding those hits. And as far as the overhang goes, that's on me. That's just, I have to reduce my surface, get around that, and just get to my spot. They have a job too, and their job is to get me off my spot. So, like I said, it just comes down to who does their job better and I guess wants it more. So.